Cheryl Liliensten, followed by Stephen Scharf, followed by Robert McKibben.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Cheryl Liliensten. I live in Palo Alto, and I'm the president of Palo Altans for Sensible Zoning. I'm here tonight to offer you some perspective on public benefits, and perhaps to warn you about the pitfalls of this seductive bargaining approach. You may know that as a result of an astoundingly successful referendum against a high-density development in my neighborhood in Palo Alto, excuse me, could I have your attention, please? Thank you. That the Palo Alto City Council wisely chose to impose a moratorium on this exploitive and corrupt practice involving public benefits. I'm here tonight because the environment we live in really matters to those of us who are already living here. And those who don't live here, the developers, should be prevented from undermining the quality of life in our communities. Trading so-called public benefits for increased development rights is wrong. It's a strategy that wipes away the zoning protections that create value and predictability for existing residents and property owners. In Palo Alto, we have the experience with these so-called public benefits, and here are 3 typical bad examples. 2 public benefit parks were supposed to materialize in exchange for high-density housing. They look nothing like public parks. They are, in fact, used as table space for restaurants. One even has a gate across the entryway. The other has a partial stone wall. This is clearly a private appropriation of public benefit space, and it sits on land controlled by the property owner. The gigantic JCC on Charleston and Arastradero was supposed to provide a soccer field. It was never built. Instead, there's a parking lot with cars parked on it. Nothing is done. A community meeting room was built in exchange for high-density housing. The community meeting room is not accessible to the public. There's no key on site. The AC and Wi-Fi don't work. I think you'd agree that public access is a defining quality for a community meeting room. So like other public benefits, it's a fake. Consider who's responsible for the maintenance of a public benefit on private property. Who is writing the contracts? Who on your legal team has the power or inclination to take on the Abu Dhabi or the Sand Hill attorneys? Further, where's the parity? You can be sure that developers know exactly how much more money they will make from offering public benefits. Selling development rights for pretend public benefits means developers obtain lasting and valuable revenue streams, while residents and taxpayers who live here get everlastingly stuck with more congestion, more traffic, overcrowded schools, infrastructure maintenance, and pollution.
Thank you, Cheryl. Your time's up.
Why would developers offer anything of equal value to their profit if they could avoid the hassle by building less? Thank you.
Next, we have Stephen Scharf, followed by Robert McKibben. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to thank the representative from Palo Altans for Sensible Zoning for taking the time to come to Cupertino tonight to present her information to us. After she was kind enough to meet with several of us last week, and as a result, we realized that it was clear that a similar organization was needed in Cupertino, so we are forming Cupertino Residents for Sensible Zoning to address the problems we're seeing in Cupertino. Some of our core beliefs, we're still formulating them: respect current zoning, city council candidates and members should not accept monetary contributions from developers, rezoning when absolutely required must consider the long-term impacts on the environment, transportation, schools, and city finances. Residents' opinions voiced at meetings should be respected. Council members should not leave the room during residents' comments and should pay attention to the speakers. We just saw an example tonight of that not happening. The City Council and Planning Commission should be extremely wary of statements and data presented by developers and their lobbyists. They should give no credence to biased push polling from developers. This is currently happening from Vallco. People are receiving phone calls with questions that are formulated to get specific answers. And no doubt Sandhill and Vallco will be here touting the results of their wonderful poll to prove how Vallco should be rezoned for housing and high-density office space. Finally, as the representative from Palo Alto said, please don't be fooled by the bogus community benefits. They are not community benefits. They're just a scam by developers. Our website, CRSZaction.org, has been launched. I invite you to visit it. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert McKibben, followed by Peggy Griffin.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to ask the Council to reject any results from the General Plan Community Input Survey. During the Council meeting in 2014, the City Council directed staff to hold informational meetings to answer questions that the public may have and to seek further input into the General Plan amendment process. Needless to say, the one and only meeting in the first part of 2015 was a disaster by not allowing the public to ask the myriad of questions that were on their minds. This survey was an attempt to rectify that disaster. The General Plan Community Input Survey, covering proposed increased building height, changes to building planes, and the Community Benefit Program, is also a disaster, as many of you at that meeting understood. The survey is very biased toward increased height and literally forces the survey taker in accepting and making choices dealing with the proposed Community Benefits Program. Here are several examples of the poorly written questions as to why this survey should be rejected. Part A, question 3. The question is, in general, are there areas in Cupertino where increased heights would be acceptable? It is very hard to answer this question if you do not know what the maximum existing heights are, and many people don't. Also, there is no box to mark no increase in height from existing zoning, or to vote for less height. The survey taker is literally forced into accepting increased height from this survey. In the Community Benefits Program portion of the survey, the explanation area describes how wonderful the program will purportedly be and nothing about the real detrimental effect it can have on the city or what the city will be giving up to try and wrest these benefits from the developers. As we have already seen with Cupertino's retail benefit program and programs in other cities, it will be ripe for abuse. In this section, question 6 states, should the city require ground floor retail stores as a required component for any building requesting additional height under community benefits programs? First off, I didn't know a building can request additional height. I think it's the developers that does that. The question already condones the program with no place to vote, no extra height in exchange for retail. As we have already seen with Main Street and the Hyatt Hotel, a token retail can easily trigger increases in the number of floors without any true benefit to the community, and the developer walks away with huge increases in profit. Every new development will now have a token gum or Coke machine as their retail component. Question 7 states, please rank the following categories of community benefits in order of preference. If you do not rank the categories, then the program does it for you automatically. Amazing. There is no way to opt out and no chance to say, I do not want any of these.
Thank you, Robert. Your time is up.
Okay. Again, I request the council to reject this survey. It is unfortunate that it came out and the public had a chance to look at it.
Peggy Griffin, followed by Sunil Satnur.
I need a minute to bring up the computer.
Okay.
I've never done this before.
Okay. Well, welcome here.
Thank you.
And after Sunil, we'll have Liang Fang Chow.
My name is, okay, I'm ready.
Ready? Okay, great.
Thank you. My name is Peggy Griffin, and I live in Cupertino, and I'm afraid I'm losing the Cupertino that I've grown to love. The one where anywhere I go, I see the ridge line, and where tall trees hide buildings, large buildings. This is all over Cupertino. You see the ridge line. Even in the Sears parking lot, I could see the ridge line and the trees. Here, Trees hide office buildings, pennies, trees hide it, and this is the new Cupertino. No trees, no ridgeline. This is De Anza looking towards Stevens Creek. Behind those trees are all the office buildings. This is pretty cool. This is a 4-story building. The mature trees are at about 3 stories. A pine tree maybe can cover 4, but mostly it's 3. Here again, 3 stories hide the building. On the right is the old Cupertino, on the left is the new. Right is the old Cupertino, left is the new. You can see the ridgeline if you look in the crack there, and between the cranes. This is the Apple R&D from the residential street immediately behind it. It's 60 feet. No tree hides this. This is Civic Center, 110 feet from a half a mile. This is from a third of a mile. No tree can hide it, and there's lots of buildings in between. This is Amherst, the little, that part is Macy's. This is what you're going to do. This is 8 stories. No tree will hide this. This is behind Bandley, and you can see the buildings. You want 75 feet. No tree will hide that. This is the Civic Center area. You want 110 feet, 9 stories. You'll see it from Stelling, a half a mile away. This is 13 stories, 100,000 square feet of office space. You need 20 of these to get $2 million in Vallco. 20 of these take 63 acres. There's only 50 acres at Vallco. And that doesn't count the residents and the retail that you want to put on. Please preserve our zoning and no community benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. Next is Sunil Satnur, followed by Liang Fang Chow.
Good evening, I'm Sunil. I'm a resident of Cupertino. I'm here to quickly express my disappointment about the way the general plan amendment is being handled by the City Council. In December 2nd meeting, we were told that we would only be adopting the housing element without adopting the other elements of the general plan. I was very disappointed to know that the other elements of the general plan was incorporated except the community benefits and the building heights. So I think we are just proceeding at a breakneck pace without considering the impact on our city. The scope of the projects that we are talking about is extremely large, and we are already facing severe traffic problems and shortages in classrooms and all these issues. I think we have to address those along with the community, and only then we'll have to consider new projects. So I just urge the City Council to go a little easy, take it one step at a time, do only what is necessary to satisfy the RENA and all the housing requirements, and only do rezoning when absolutely necessary. Thank you.
Lisa Warren, followed by John Willey.
Hello. I have some comments to share about the survey as well. Some of them are from my own experience with the exercise, and others reflect what various residents have shared.
Okay.
I just thought all eyes would be on the speaker.
Writing what you're saying.
Okay. First off, it's interesting, as of 12 o'clock this afternoon, there were almost 800 visitors to the survey on the building height, yet short of 300 responded to the post. Responses were posted, so I'm not sure if that's an indication of people who went on and went, this is ridiculous, no thank you, or why those numbers, what those numbers truly reflect, but it is something to think about. Likewise, the community benefits survey portion, B, there were 473 visitors and just over 200 responses were recorded. So People were unaware that comments could be added related to most of the questions on the survey. The only way to give open input is if the person responded other to the series of multiple choices. Then a comment box popped up. There was no indication anywhere that that's what needed to be done if you had comments. And when the other was chosen and your comments were added, it seems that the comments did not register unless you actually took the cursor and clicked somewhere out of the comment box. So people, I believe, put comments, and I myself, I think, I don't even know what happened to my survey, quite honestly, because at the end it's so confusing as to what it's doing. But if you clicked the comments and filled them in and then didn't click outside the box when you submitted, your comments wouldn't be there. That's a problem. If you're in the midst of completing the survey and you left the window in order to view something else, your responses could either be mistakenly changed or comments were lost. Going back in an attempt to review previous pages created similar issues. Apparently the sensitivity of each radio button, which is what they're called, I guess, was the full length of the response, not just the button alone. So again, respondents may not have noticed that there were unwanted changes to their answers as they move their mouse around on the page. Question 7 on Part B forced you to prioritize community benefits, but did not give ability to comment to say that community benefits were not desired at all. If you skipped the ranking portion of question 7, it later forced you to accept a default or abort your responses entirely. So I'm wondering if that's what happened with the 473 versus 200. I know it did happen to some people. It was indicated by staff that although the survey suggests respondents had the ability...
Thank you, Lisa. Your time's up.
That's too bad.
I have
More to talk about.
John Willie. And then Liang, if you're ready, you could go after John. Yeah? Okay, great.
Hello, Council. I'd
Hey, John.
like to try again to put some images behind these big numbers that we hear about. So let's start. We recognize, hopefully somebody can correct that.
Sorry.
Okay, stop. Maybe you can fix the time.
Yeah, we'll give you some extra time for that.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'd like to put some images behind these big numbers. In the past ones, I've showed you some computer-generated images. Well, let's work with pictures. So there's Vallco today, and we're talking about changing it with these other items. And so I've gone and I've taken some identical pictures of Sunnyvale Town Center, and bear with us here, and I'll show you how we get this rendering to be what the proposed Vallco would look like. It's Sunnyvale Town Center plus 37%. If you look over here on the right, that image there is the same size as the upper image. Notice the size of the cars are the same. Both Matilda and Stevens Creek are both about 105 feet across. So when you take pictures from the other curb, you essentially get a 1-to-1. Where do we get that type of structure? Okay, let's start with Sunnyvale Town Center. It has 36.5 acres, and I went to Sunnyvale Town Center planning. They have 991,000 square feet of retail, 315 of office, 452 of housing, 133 of hotel, gives them 1.8 million square feet, plus parking garage at 116% FAR. If we were to go and port that over to Vallco, which is 50 acres, we would just grow it by that same amount, which is an extra 37%. So if we were to do that to Vallco, Vallco would look from the street exactly like Sunnyvale Town Center. At 2.5 million square feet, essentially, because of a little rounding error, 119 FAR plus parking garage. Unfortunately, that's not what the developer wants. The developer does not want 2.5 million square feet, so we have to grow Sunnyvale Town Center up. We already grew it out, now we have to grow it up. So to get what the developer's asking for, 600,000 square feet, everything down, 3.5, you get 158% far back to the original picture. That's what you get with the proposed Vallco.
I'll give you 15 more seconds here because it took a little time to adjust the projection.
I encourage people to go and look at Sunnyvale Town Center. Again, this is smaller than what it would be on Vallco's site. Take these images, increase them by 37% in the vertical direction, and that's what Vallco will look like. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay. Let's see. We're back to Liang, I believe, so. And after Liang, I have Tim Brand, followed by Paula Wallace.
This switched.
Okay.
Okay. Council members, I would like to plead to please save Cupertino from community benefits that only benefit developers. Community benefits comes from building heights. Increased building height only brings more traffic and more traffic accidents, more crowded schools, and more portable classroom modules, more toilet, more sinks, and water restrictions. We are in the middle of drought, and there's a prediction that we might have 50 years of drought coming, and more air pollution, and more health problems, and more demand on parks and recreation services and city services, and more problems in public safety. Increased height takes away views of sky, trees, hills, as the main roads become concrete canyons with walls of tall buildings. Our quality of life, fresh air, ease of parking, feeling of small community. Most of all, it takes away the characteristics and the identity of Cupertino. These classroom modules and crowded hallway will be the future of Cupertino, and congested street with buses and air pollution. And we would like to walk by Cupertino, but then we had better have some masks. And here is a pedal-powered air filtration system. That's our future. Well, there are many different cool masks, but community benefits program now loosely defined with no accountability. Developer will abuse it to the maximum to make the maximum profit. There is no doubt about it. Developers benefit, taxpayers pay. Developers build and go elsewhere. Taxpayers have to pay to fix a broken infrastructure. There is no doubt about it. Fix the broken process first. The city should negotiate parks and community services as part of the development agreement for development within existing codes. Environment Impact Report, EIR, should accurately provide aggregated impact of all ongoing projects. Mitigation before building. Any potential problems identified in the EIR should be mitigated first. The developer should be held responsible for implementing the mitigation plan. Do not issue use permit if conditions in the development agreement is not met. Please hold the developers responsible for their promises. Don't sell our city. Please vote no on community benefits that only benefit developers. Thank you.
We have Xiaowen Wang, followed by Munesh Gumer, and that's our last card.
Hi, City Council and Mayor. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. Can I have this? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm here to talk about the office allocations in the general plan now. I guess my confusion in studying the general plan document is how do we allocate office space? My naive assumption here is we allocate office spaces by need. But then when I read the market study, which is this graph is basically coming from the market study table 34, projected office demand Cupertino from 2013 to 2035. Okay, so here is the ABAG projection for the office demand, which only is like 156,000. And this is the net new office space from Apple Campus 2, which count for 750,000. However, we allocate 2 million to Vallco and some other office space. So I wonder where does this two coming from? Why this becomes a demand? Because in the staff report last year, this is what about this 2 million? Written here is requested from potential applicant and the consultant responses. On October 13, 2014, the city received a letter from a potential developer of the Vallco shopping district, generally stating that the cost of assembling the site, providing minimum of 600 square feet of retail in high quality and mixed-use town center envisioned for the area, community benefit and offset infrastructure cost would require at least 2 million square feet or 1 million square feet more than was recommended in the balanced plan. So this 2 million is purely coming from this developer's request. So I don't understand this is we are planning for developer's request. We're not planning for the actual need. And also the consultant response is interestingly enough in that the city's retail consultant reviewed the request and noted that given the high cost of the site assembly and construction, an office allocation of up to 2 million could potentially be necessary to make the project economical viable. However, it could not be verified without a pro forma review. So far, I haven't seen any pro forma review of if this is really economical necessary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our last speaker for oral communication this evening, Munish Gomer. I hope I got that right. Welcome.
Good evening, councils. Munish Gomer. I am a resident of Cupertino and a homeowner. I just want to express my concern regarding the rezoning of the Vallco Mall. I have been a strong supporter of the schools in the city of Cupertino, always voted in favor of all of those developments. But in the last about few years, I've been seeing a lot of modules coming along. My kids are coming home and they're saying they have less and less play space, and that kind of concerns me. And with the new development coming along, I'm really, really concerned that we are not ready for it, and we are kind of going faster than we should. And just I wanted to express that. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your comment. With that, I'll close oral